Hey everybody, Dave here. Welcome to the program. I hope you are having a fantastic day. And in the event that you're not, it's about to get a whole lot better. About 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that, we did our spring clean and repair webinar. This was one of our most highly attended webinar. We had, I think, 400 people registered for it. It was an incredible event. But a lot of you were unable to make it. And so today I want to bring the webinar to you. This is essential information as you're getting ready to head out onto the trail this summer. We're going to talk about everything about prepping the saddle, prepping the tack, making sure that you're not up a creek without a paddle when you get out on the trail, and making sure that your mule or your donkey is ready for whatever it is you're going to put them to work doing. It's a great program. I hope you enjoy it. Steve and I should be back next week, but in the meantime, enjoy this spring clean and repair webinar replay, and we will see you very soon. God bless everybody. Enjoy. So let's start first and foremost with the cornerstone of riding. Let's talk about inspecting the saddle and the tack and looking for wear and tear. What is it that we're looking for? What do we need to be aware of? What signs do we need to look out for before we get out there and start riding?
When we look at leather, number one, leather, it must be cleaned and oiled 2 to 4 times a year, okay? And in some cases, like the breeching and the breast collar, they should be put in a 5-gallon bucket of oil, let set overnight, and then in a nice warm place, especially in the sunshine, and have it prepped. Why is that? Because the leather breeching takes a beating, not only rubbing on the animal's hips going back and forth, but the salt from the animal going into the leather, and also the any manure, or if you have a mare mule that's urinating, leather cracks. And where leather cracks, we have a chance of leather breaking, and we have a chance of leather shafting as well. In other words, cutting off hair as well. And that can be with anything, folks. Listen, you're going to scratch Fluffy. You're going to make rub marks, and that happens. You're going to uh, have places that, as we're going to see in this video here, some things happen to where you're not going to be able to ride. Things happen. These animals are not bulletproof by any means, okay? So now let's look. Everywhere that you have a fold, okay, where it folds over top of something. I'm going to use an ink pen, for instance. It goes here, and it folds over top. Like, say, your latigos on your saddle, okay? Everywhere there's a fold, you should be taking that loose, opening that up, and looking at the cracks, and take it and fold it the opposite way, like that. So before it was like this, and it was closed up like that, okay? And now, you can't see the cracks. Now we open it up, and now we look at where the fold was, and now we can look and see the cracks all across our leather. That's one of the biggest reasons I use nylon seatbelt material on all 4 of my D-rings going to my cinch. One of the worst wrecks I've ever had was when my tie strap, my latigo, broke right here on this bend, cracked, and the saddle come off, and pow, I hit the ground. Of course, it was right in the middle of a big wreck anyway, but it made it even worse. So any place that you have a fold on your leather, mainly your tie straps, latigos, on each one of your D-rings, that's one of the first places I would go. Next place is where your breeching straps come across the back of the hip, okay? Each one of those breeching straps attached to a concho. You'll want to make sure that concho is screwed down tight. Because here's what happens. As those 2 back straps are moving like this, they're loosening up those conchos. And when they loosen up those conchos, pretty soon, boom, you got one of them off. And you're thinking, why is my breeching not holding me back? Well, that concho just then come off. It's not because of the saddle maker. It's because we did not keep an eye on the maintenance of our saddle gear, especially breeching. It moves a lot. You need to move a lot in an inch and a half. Now, that's those two straps. And then right where they fold onto the snaps, check those folds as well. I already told you about the breeching, the butt plate itself. I said soak it overnight, let it drip dry, and then let it set out in sunshine hanging on a key post or something, and then wipe it clean. Now, the two straps that go on the breeching up to the front D-ring of the saddle, each one of those bends, again, folks, every place there's a bend. Every place there's a bend. Take the strap off, pull it back, and look at it. Make sure there's no cracks. Look it all over. Make sure there's no cracks. Now, you want to eliminate that. You want to eliminate the maintenance on the breeching. You want to eliminate the maintenance on a breast collar. Go the Beta. Beta is indestructible. I got 25 years ago, I got rid of all of my harness for my driving harness, and I went from leather to Beta. Not only is it easier to keep clean, easier to maintain, and this sort of thing. All of my pack equipment, all of my saddles, I took all of that leather off, I got rid of it, and I went all Beta. Now I've just literally, I've probably taken 5-6 hours off of my time cleaning just by getting rid of that leather stuff. Okay, I know a lot of you want to have the leather, want to cowboy up, good deal. Okay, but keep it maintained. So everywhere, if you got leather, everywhere you got to fold. Now, here's one of the next places. On your bridles, where your bit goes in. Again, take the set screw out or the tie strings, whatever you got, open up the leather, open it back, and look at it. Okay, remember, here it is. We open it up and we look at it. And we see, okay, are there any cracks here? Are there any cracks here in this part? And fold it back up, put it back on the bit. Okay, so your bridle, very, very important. Now your reins, okay, the same thing, using leather reins. Every place there's a fold. Now, some of you are using snaps on your reins. My question is, why? Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to see what the mule feels like. Okay, I want you to take a spoon, and I want you to go for 5 or 6 hours all day long. I want you to tap on your teeth all day long. Okay, that's what it feels like to that poor mule when you got snaps on that bit and going ting, 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 and making that poor mule pretty miserable. Okay, get rid of them snaps. If you were at one of my clinics, that'd be one of the first things I would tell you to do is get rid of the snaps. Very good friend of mine who's a 28-time world champion reining man. He would even let you in a class when you got snaps on your bridles. They are miserable when it comes to these animals. So that's in general your maintenance, okay, on your leather breeching and breast collars and this sort of thing. Now, again, looking at your full tie strap that goes down and goes into your cinch and goes back up. As you are looking at that leather tie strap, for those of you that have billets, that have leather tie straps, the downside of that is billets. When you have one on the right front, right rear, left rear, they do not center a cinch correctly. One of the biggest reasons for saddles to roll, get this, is your cinch is not centered. It's off one way or the other, okay? You want to make sure, look down there, see your center D's on your cinches should all be in line. Get rid of those billets and put tie straps. But if you've got leather billets on there, check them out. Make sure there are no cracks in that leather. Okay, so that's basically it as far as the leather goes for maintenance on that stuff. We got some pictures there, Dave, of saddle with some rivets gone, both sides. Okay, so now these are copper riveted into place. And with the copper rivets into place, what this does is it holds the D-ring on the saddle into place. All right. Now this saddle's probably, I think around 12, 14 years old. And if you notice, the two of the copper rivets are missing. He found that out by the time he got down here from North Dakota, and was one day decided to go ahead and clean up his saddles a little bit. He looked around and whoop, copper rivets. Now listen, all of you should have a repair kit for your tack. Copper rivets. You need a stitch awl would really be good. That way you can see some of the stitching there. Some of that stitching gets weared off, okay, and it can happen. So a stitch awl, which you can get that stuff down at your local saddle shop. A stitch awl and copper rivets, very, very, very important things to do. Now, you can use what's called a Chicago screw, but those things come undone. If you're going to use a Chicago screw, use some thread tight that you put on the threads, and that tightens it up. The downside is you end up having to cut them if you have to take them off. But there you go. Now let's look at the other side there, Dave. See, that's what it should look like there, folks. And if this rider had not been cleaning his tack and looking things over, he'd have never found it. Unfortunately, he didn't do it before he left home in North Dakota. He waited till he got down here in Arizona and sent me pictures. Said, "Hey, Steve, what happened here?" And I said, "Oh, well, it looks like to me you better get yourself your copper rivets and rivet it into place, because these things do happen." Okay, which he did, was able to get fixed up. So in your kits, you should have, in your saddle repair kits, you should have extra leather pieces. It wouldn't hurt to have an extra set of reins as well, because a lot of times these, especially some of you that are riding on one rein, have a one riding rein, which is the worst rein you can have. It's made to be in an arena for less than 10 seconds when you're roping. You drop the rein, it's one rein, drop the rein, and then you go ahead and rope. Once you get them roped, you jerk your slack, then you pick up on your reins and go. It's made for that reason only. It is not made, and is extremely dangerous when you are on the trail. Okay, now here's what, let me just give you a couple examples. Here's this client of mine. She went up to have her mule to get a drink of water. She had one single rein going from the left side around to the right side, one rein. So she goes ahead and lets the mule down to get a drink, and she's kind of halfway holding on to the rein and sitting back, and all of a sudden the mule got his foot over the rein and on the other side, and it jerked the lady out of the saddle and flipped the mule out, and they both went into the water. Now she's very lucky she didn't get killed there or drowned. The mule is very lucky he didn't get himself hurt, didn't get his mouth ripped up from that thing. I'll give you another one. Here is a husband and wife team. Their mules love each other. They're always rubbing on each other, which is not good on a trail ride. They're rubbing on one another. Then one's head got hung up in the rein because it was a single rein. Got hung up, and now they're both in a big tussle. There's a big fight, and now that both the lady and the man hit the ground, one had to be flown out. The other one, went by ambulance, but their mules were fairly good. Okay, they did have some split tongues and some other things. So I said all that to say this, folks. Split reins, a pair of 8-foot split reins, is the safest that you can ride. You're a trail rider. You never know when that branch is going to catch one of your reins. You never know when another animal is going to rub or a foot's going to get over top. All that's possible now, okay? So there's some examples of your kit, your repair kit. Take yourself along a little hammer, which you could use to put nails on your shoes with. Take yourself along some rivets. Get yourself a stitch awl. They're pretty inexpensive. and some extra leather pieces and this sort of thing, extra tie strings, because a lot of times when you're tying your slicker on the back, you break a tie string. You got a chance of doing that. Take extra tie strings. Anyway, have some extra stuff. Have a few extra things that you're going to have on your pummel bag that you can do some work out there on a trail. Okay. The other thing. Okay, what do we got now, Dave? What's next?
Give us an overview of how we should be thinking about cleaning thoroughly and maybe even what's at stake if we don't clean thoroughly.
Sure. Well, what's at stake if we don't clean thoroughly is the dust and dirt staying on there and drying the saddle out, which can happen pretty easy, especially here in Arizona. Yeah, not so much back east, but the cleaning it really good, especially in parts where parts rub. For instance, where the straps are on the back of the saddle, that's always rubbing and this sort of thing. Make sure that that's cleaned really well. The bottom part of those straps, anywhere that's touching the animal, uh, like the beta, you can take a damp cloth, a little bit of Windex, spray it on, and every place that's touching the animal, you can rub it, you can wipe it off with a little bit of Windex or a little bit of cleaner of some kind, whatever you like. The nice thing about the beta, the nice thing about that is that a little soap and water goes a long way. So, before you, uh, when you come back from a ride, always check out everything. Look at your cinches. Make sure they're clean. Take a little bit of Windex and spray over those cinches, especially my cinches that are perforated neoprene. You can spray a little bit on there and wipe them off. A little bit of soap and water, wipe it off. Any place that's touching the animal is going to have salt, and it'll be like a piece of sandpaper if you don't keep it clean, especially the breeching. Your breeching, you want to be adjusted correctly. The whole breeching is set against the butt, okay, flush, not just one part of it, okay, not just one part. So any place that's touching the animal on a daily basis, you get ready to go for a ride, wipe everything down. Maybe right after you get done from a ride, wipe everything down, okay? And any place that's touching the animal. So your tie straps, they're touching the animal. The cinches, they're touching the animal. Your bridles. Now, if you're using the bridle, that's beta. It's hardly any clean at all. Little I say Windex, a little bit of window cleaner. Spray it and wipe it off. You're done. Okay. Now, when you have leather, you got some let's call it leather new, and I forget who the maker is right now, but it's called leather new, and you can spray it on your leather and you can wipe it clean. That helps it out. So the biggest reason for you want to do this is for the comfort of your mule, because otherwise that salt sets in on top of that stuff, especially leather. That salt works its way right into that leather, and it's like a sanding block. The nice thing about the beta is it doesn't tend to stick on as much. Oh, there you go. You got some leather new. That's great stuff there. Now you can get a little bottle of it, or you can buy a gallon of it, and this sort of thing. And that's really super stuff there.
Fit is something that folks really are concerned about when it comes to their saddle. Can you help us define what that perfect fit actually means? Not what, is marketing speak, but actually real mule, donkey, bone structure fit.
So your mules and your donkeys have the bone structure similar. The mule gets the bone structure from the donkey. All right. And so since they walk different, they're very lateral when they're walking. So it's the right side goes, left side goes. Right side goes, left side goes. The scapula goes up and down, up and down, up and down like this. Okay. And we have fat pockets along the top of the ribs, the crest of the neck, and the dock of the tail that we have to think about rubbing against. Okay. Now, when it comes to these animals, since they have tendencies of getting hot, which is really easy to do. When you're back east I experienced it here this last week when I was in Tennessee and Alabama. Uh, wasn't real humid, but still, they were saying it wasn't real humid. It was just about 70-75%. And that means that it's going to be almost like water. It's almost like a boiling pot between the saddle and the mule's back. And that water, that sweat underneath there, is literally boiling. And you can tell when it has overboiled when you start seeing white marks. Okay. Now, the white marks tells us that we have places on the mule's back that are not getting enough airflow. And we're not resting our animals by lifting up the back of the saddle, loosening the back cinch, loosen up the breeching, pull up the back of the saddle, pull up and down a few times, let some cool air go through the back. Okay, these animals need a break. They need to be rested. So, just like other parts of the saddle, breeching, this sort of thing, sitting against the animal, when the saddle sits against them, it's important that we understand, like on my saddle bar, and it is about a 19.5-inch bar. The average saddle bar for a horse is about 21 to 22 inches. All right. Now, that horse bar twists right at the 6th and 7th rib, and that makes that twist go around the wither of a horse. Okay, the wither on a mule, so that's way different. You put a saddle up on top of a wither of a mule, you are going to be breaking down his scapula. Okay, so you want it back away from that. So with that twist, that also puts pressure upon the 6th and 7th rib, which is about where your front D-ring is on your saddle. The back D-ring is your pivot point, actually your anchor point for your saddle. On a 19.5-inch bar, 15 inches should actually be setting on the mule's back. And that 15 inches is in the back, right where you are setting. The front part of the 19.5 inches, that 4.5 inches, is coming up off of the scapula and up off the 6th to 7th rib, and is not putting any pressure on that working area back there. Okay, so we got a video, a picture actually here. I want you to notice here. Look at this bright white mark in the front of the animal's back. You see how bright that is? This is saddle fit now. This is a horse saddle setting on a mule. And now look at that bright white mark. That bright white mark is the twist that I was telling you about, the 6th and 7th rib. Okay? And that's the pressure point that's pulling down from the front cinch because this person over tightened the front cinch. Now, notice the rest of the white on the back, especially the lower part of the white where it's the brightest right there. This person was riding on a wool pad for a while on a horse saddle. Now, what does wool do? Wool sucks the moisture out of the mule's back, sucks it out. It takes it away. Listen to their ads. They say it whisks away the moisture. Why do you want to take away the natural way to keep this animal cool and a natural way to lubricate his back? If you know, that's what wool does. Okay, so here he is. Now, this person is also not setting in the saddle correctly, straight, set straight. It's heavier white on this side, the left side, the near side, than the off side. The off side's got less white. So what does that tell me? Tells me my rider is not riding center. Tells me that most likely the cinches I was telling you about, the cinches are not squared in the center. You want your cinches to be even on each side. Whatever you see on the right should be on the left. They should be even. Now, I don't care if the front cinch is a little lower than the back cinch, especially on my saddles. That's the way they are. We don't have to have them level, looking at them from horizontally, but on the bottom, every one of those cinches need to be all in one place. All right.
Steve, how do you like to organize your gear? What works for you, and what tips might you have?
Before my tack goes onto my animal. Now, most of the time, I'm putting my saddle and bridle and my ropes and my uh, cantle bag and my pummel bag and this sort of thing. It's got my water and my burrito in it, a little bit of some nails in case I got to put a shoe on, um, some different things in case I get. Uh, I got a stitching needle up in my hat, that a stitching needle with some thread in case I need to stitch up an animal or something. So I take all my tack, and when I put it on the animal, and I put the bridle onto the horn, and I tie it off. So as I look at that, I can see I've got my breeching, my breast collar into place, my saddle is looking good, my stirrups, my tie straps, everything is setting correctly on the animal. So I say to myself, all right, I've got everything I need to go out for my day's ride or my 2-3 hours ride, something like that. Okay. Uh, that's basically it, just kind of basic organized. And then of course, if I've got my pack mules, I'm going to be checking those out and organizing and make sure things in place. But there's nothing more frustrating, and I've had it happen to me, to where I've got out on a trail, I'm at a trailhead, and I'm rigging up my mules, and I had taken a breeching off, and had it on something else, and didn't have a breeching for a pack saddle. So I like to look that stuff over. I like to put it on my animals, put it all together, get back and look at it and say, yep, got my breeching, my breast collar, my cinches, everything's in good shape. I put everything together, and then I put it in the saddle. Or if we're going to be packing back in the mountains, I leave it on the animals too.
So we talked about the stuff. Now we're going to talk about the animal itself, and we're going to start with the health check. There's two items that you say we need to be thinking about, which is vet check and hoof care. Walk us through those.
It's a really good idea, especially if you're fairly new to the equine world. Call your vet and say, hey, I'm getting ready to take a trail ride. I found, and I didn't really realize this that much until I got back east. There are a lot of farms and ranches back there that are no longer farms and ranches, but there are hundreds of acres that's on these farms and ranches that people pay to camp on and to go riding on. They all get together. That's what they do. Okay, it's not like here in Arizona. 14% of the property is privately owned, and you can ride anywhere you want. Okay, all you have to do is have a state land permit. That's it. Okay, but back there it's different. So have your vet take a look your mule over. Have your vet show you how to take a temperature. Have your vet watch and tell you, okay, look at the nostril. Look how it's flaring. Okay. That tells you about heart rates and stuff. Have your vet I know he's going to use a stethoscope, but you can put your ear down on the mule side, and you can hear the heart rate, and you can read it on your watch, and read the beats per second. Now, when your animal is sick, the vet needs to know what is the temperature of the animal. Number one, temperature. Now, you can get that by having a rectal thermometer tied to a string, and then have a little alligator clip on the end of the string and clip onto the tail, and then have that rectal thermometer in there and test it. Okay. Have your vet show you how to do it. Okay. Now, uh, uh, the vet is also going to ask, what is his breathing like? Look at the nostrils. How are they flaring? Okay. So again, if your vet and you're sure, looks at everything and says, hey, this animal is healthy enough to go on a trip, then wham, away you go. Now, the next thing you're gonna be asking the vet is this. Okay, I'm going to be riding 2 to 4 hours a day. Is this mule going to be healthy enough to take me on that? Or I'm going to be doing a 10-hour run. Is this mule going to be, you got the idea? Okay. Is this mule healthy enough to go on that kind of a run? Because here's the problem, folks. You hear all these stories of these mules. Oh, they've hunted all over Colorado and packed out elk. I don't care about all that stuff. Okay. It's how the animal is prepared to get there. You should be, before you go on these trips, you should be riding the animal, exercising them, and you should be exercising yourself as well. But you should be riding the animal and preparing it. Every day, you should be checking this animal out. And especially, just like checking your tires, you should be looking at tendons. So your vet is going to show you what to look for and take your temperature and doing heart rate and this sort of thing. Because when this animal is colicking, which can happen, mules do colic, okay? Mules do have grass founder. They do, okay? Especially if you change feed. You take along enough feed to get you through your ride, okay? And you want to have a little bit extra as well. And if you're going to start feeding whole oats, which you should for trail riding stuff to give them the energy, you need to start feeding all this a week ahead of time. So to answer the question about the vet and the shoeing, have your shoer make you up a couple shoes that you can take with you, and get some extra nails so that you can put a shoe on. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you can put a shoe on and be able to get back on the trail again. Okay.
Let's talk about conditioning. We've got about 13 minutes here. Let's talk about conditioning. We're talking about building up exercise and strength training.
Here's the thing, folks. Most of us just put the animal in the trailer and then go on a ride and think he's going to be good. You really should be doing some 1 or 2 hour rides here and there to kind of help them get going. The big thing that you're helping is not to get their muscles stronger, but so that the tendons are getting used and the tendons are getting stronger. Okay. Now, very prevalent in the equine world is a bowed tendon. So the other part in your med kit should be this. It should be some cellophane. It should be some vet wrap. And it should be this little bottle here. Liniment. Hear that? Absorbing. It's very, very easy to blow a tendon, even on an animal that's in good condition. All right? Very easy to do. So if you got the ability, which all of you can do, if you can use cellophane to cover up a dish of food, you can use cellophane to put on the leg of your mule. Okay? Now, what did we do here? This was a bowed tendon, and it was up high. How do we know? The animal was gimping. Well, that's my first clue. But wait a minute. Before it started gimping, I should be checking the tendons every day. Take your hand and go on the top of the tendon and feel it. It should be as tight as this finger. As tight as this finger. From the top all the way down the bottom. You should feel nice and tight all the way down. If you feel any puffiness at all, that is the beginning of a bowed tendon. Now, you can end up not riding your mule for over a year, depending on how bad the bow is. Okay? So, if you have cellophane back at camp, I don't expect you to be packing it back in the mountains. I mean, if you're on a trail ride, you're packing back in the mountains for several days, yes, you should have this with your med kit. You should have your liniment, which really feels good on your muscles as well. But you should have the liniment, you should have the cellophane, and you should have the vet wrap in order to be able to help that tendon and get it to be better. Now, on top of the vet wrap and wrapping it, this is where the Banamine is going to come in handy. Okay, giving it the Banamine is going to help relax the animal and this sort of thing, or Bute. Okay, I prefer you have both personally, and my personal thing, of course, with the Bute is a tablet that I would pull the tongue back and put the tablet in. But not all of you can do that. You can crush it and put it in with some grain. Okay, I prefer to use the the Banamine interjugular here. But I know some of you can't do that, so just give it intermuscular. So that means you're going to have a syringe around, and you're going to have an 18 gauge needle. Or if the vet won't do that for you, some vets will. My vets that know me, they have no problem at all. They making sure I get the right stuff. The Banamine is what they, because they know I'm a long ways away, and they know I'll use it correctly. Okay, so if you have to use the paste, remember the paste is going to take longer. So conditioning, it's not that you're trying to muscle the animal up. You want them to get used to the saddle being in place. You want them to get used to you stepping up in the saddle, not wait 2 weeks and then all of a sudden now you're climbing up the saddle going trail ride. You can end up like this lady here, where she's getting ready to go on a trail ride, and all of a sudden Leslie finds that she's got a monster on her hands. Okay, and because she was checking it out beforehand, before she went on the trail ride, she was able to fix it. Now take a look. And there's the bow tendon right there. Thank you very much for showing that. Notice how he cleaned up the bow tendon, cleaned some of the hair off so that he could wrap it. That's what it looked like beforehand. Okay. Now, I told him it's going to be 2 months at least before you think about any kind of riding at all. And he says, well, look, I'm getting ready to get married. I want to ride in with the mule. Well, a short few strides like that, we're okay. But you go out on a long ride, you're going to blow that tendon bad, and you could end up with a crippled animal. Thanks for bringing that up there, Dave.
So there's the walking right there after
Right.
having been bandaged up and everything. And so right here, did you want the come along rope one with Leslie?
Yeah, we're going to get that in a minute. But notice here, the other thing I told him to do, put the mule in a small pen. So he built a 12 by 12 pen so that the mule can do a limited amount of walking. We do need to have them walking, okay? But they don't need to be going all over a pasture and walking from one end to the other, okay? Now, the other thing I was talking about is preparation with the saddle. You've not been riding 2, maybe 3 weeks. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to go for a ride. You don't want to end up like Leslie did here. She was fortunate enough, smart enough about it, to be able to look at her saddle, rig things out, and see if we got some problems. So here we are with her. She just put the saddle on. There's the mule going off bucking. See that? Wow. Mule just took off bucking right now. Now, we got some pictures just before this where she's tied to a trailer, and see what happens with the mule. Now, here she goes up. She pets on her mule. The mule looks at her and says, hi, buddy. Now, look at the grumpiness. Look at that. She's pulling on her cinches. She's rolling the saddle. Look at the ears pinning. That mule is saying, I am the pecking order. I am the top of it. Look at the tail twitching. And I don't like you messing around with this saddle. I don't like it, you see. And so you can see that the mule was pinning her ears and switching her tail. She's basically saying, hey, I'm the top of pecking order. Look at the grumpiness there, pinning her ears. This is a real nice mule. But today, she's being really grumpy. Notice the switching of the tail. Notice the pinning of the ears. Her throwing her head and this sort of thing. She is pretty unhappy. Now, that's that picture. Now, the other one is where he takes off bucking. Okay? And there she goes. See the mule taking off bucking right there? Okay? So, okay, we got a problem. What's going on? I don't want to be on a trail ride and end up with this kind of a problem. So now, what is she going to do to fix the problem? Let's go over here. She's going to get the come along on.
Oh.
Well, there she was able to go for a ride. But here, she's got the come along on. And now I want you to see the difference in the attitude of this mule. Notice also, Leslie has a helmet on. Man, if you watch me the past couple clinics there in Tennessee and Alabama, you'll see I had my helmet on. You want a helmet. You earn a cowboy hat, okay? But you're smart if you put a helmet on. You see she's also got a deal. Notice the difference in the attitude of that mule. Notice the come-along hitch. It's laying on the ground. Notice she's pulling on it, and this sort of thing. So she's fixing the attitude of this mule. But she did it how? By the come along hitch. And she done this before she went on trail ride. Look at all the things she's doing. She's intentionally trying to irritate this mule. Intentionally. And notice the difference in his attitude. Because of that come along rope. Because of that come along. Changes the whole attitude. Instead of him saying, I am the pecking order. I am the top of it. I am going to cause a problem. Look at the difference. Nobody's holding on to that lead rope. This mule could take off anytime. Notice how much calmer that mule is. There's one happy Leslie right there. How about that? Okay. Now see, folks, we do this before the trail ride. You understand? Not just put them in a saddle or put them in a trailer, go on a ride, and get bucked off. Okay? You need to be prepared. Now, even when you get on your trail ride, even when you pull into where you're going to camp, don't just take a rope halter. Put your come along hitch on there. Everything's new. Oh, new animals. Oh, what's some animals over there? What's that tent over there? What's that trailer over there? What are they doing? They're looking all around. Put the come along hitch on. That changes their whole atmosphere. You have to have them focus on you. Right there, you saw it. Well, there was no makeup there, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's the way that it is. So I want to keep us moving. We got a couple minutes left. Now, diet and nutrition is on the agenda for tonight. But what I want to tell folks is we're linking you over. I put it in the comment section to the Feed Talk. Now, Steve and James Weatherford, gearing up to the spring, got together and they talked about what diet and nutrition needs to look like. And so Steve's going to share a couple things here, but he's going to share way more in this Feed Talk video than he could share here. So I want you to go. It's free. I want you to get the Feed Talk video, and I want you to pair that up with what we're talking about here. Steve, but just give us a couple pointers on balanced diet and hydration as it relates to getting ready to go.
Okay. Now, you can get electrolytes. You can get like a 5-pound bucket of electrolytes. Makes no difference what kind. Farnham makes all kinds of it. Different companies make all kinds of it. You should be putting the electrolytes in your water and start hydrating them before the ride. You should also have salt readily available, and take salt with you. Now, should they not be licking on your block of salt, take some granular salt and put like I use stuff like we use in our salt water. Now I use that salt and I put that in there. So they got to have salt. The biggest killer of mules and donkeys, folks, is dehydration. People think it's really cool. Hey, look, my mule don't need to drink much water. He just drinks. No. They need to drink water. But listen, they smell certain things in the water that you and I don't smell. They're uneasy about it, and they won't drink it, and they'll dehydrate themselves. You start doing 2 weeks before your ride, put in your water. Again, the purpose of having a small corral and having a small water container, like around 10 to 20 gallons, okay, and be able to watch their feed, watch their water intake, but get them prepared for the ride. Listen, I have seen many an animal, mules and donkeys and horses, get colicky because they were dehydrated. They were not prepared to be on the road. Okay. Now I can tell you, on top of putting the hydration electrolytes in my water before I go, just before I put them in a trailer, I take my paste electrolytes and I give whatever amount it needs to be done. It says on the syringe, I give that to them. When they come out of that trailer, they are looking for water. Okay. Now, is it different? Yeah. When we have stream of water, that's fairly good. But a lot of times when we're at a new area and their water smells different and looks different and this sort of thing, a lot of these mules won't drink right away. Okay. It's imperative they drink. They just got to spend 6-8 hours in a trailer. They need to be drinking. They need to have that water. They need hydration more than feed. Don't put a feed bag inside the trailer and let them be eaten. They don't need to be doing that. Don't put the feed bag on the corral right off the bat. Put them in the corral, let them roll, let them drink water, and at the end of the day, I usually wait as long as I can to the end of the day before I start feeding them. All right? I want to see them drink. I want to see them throw some road apples on the ground. I want to see them urinate. So your electrolytes, super, super important. You should have, before you go, again, talk with your vet. Make sure your teeth are floated. Make sure that they are physically ready to go on this trip. Okay. Now, feed wise, we need to be able to help the top line on these mules. And that's all muscle across both sides of the spine. And to help that top line, which don't have much fat, we need to be able to feed whole oats. It's what I feed. It gives them energy. I do not feed it to them on a daily basis. I feed it to them the day I'm getting ready to go ride. I put the morale on. I let them eat all they want. Now, before then, a week before then, I may give them a cup of whole oats. If I'm starting to see a difference in their attitude, I back off of that cup, but only 1 cup of whole oats to start preparing them, because they have large intestines, small intestines, and when they get impacted with their colic, it's because the large and small intestines have got a large amount of feed that you maybe you fed them in a trailer, or maybe you fed them a different feed or something like that, and their muscles are tense and around those intestines, and you end up with a colic. That's when you're going to have your Banamine out. That's when you're going to be calling your vet, giving him, my temperature is this, my heart respiration is this. They need that information so that they can make a decision what to do. And also, you tell them how much Banamine you gave them, and this sort of thing. So, feed-wise, now you're getting ready to really do some riding. You need to increase the amount of feed. I personally only feed at night. I don't wait in the morning until they finish their breakfast. A lot of times they never finish their breakfast. They're thinking about what's still back at the corral. I want to eat here, eat there, and this sort of thing. What I do is I feed all they need that night. So if they need 12 pounds worth of feed, I put 12 pounds worth of feed, and they will eat and drink and be ready to go the next morning. I do that here at the ranch when I'm training. I take each one of my animals, and I have them on a special feeding program. Each one is in a 10 by 20 stall, and I make sure that they're fed accordingly. Okay, when you're going on those trail rides, they need to be fed so that they will keep up their stamina and so that you don't lose a top line.
Steve, we have 2 more sections. Trail familiarization, where we're talking about riding preparation in calm environment, and then we're going to talk about packing and loading training. But let's talk about trail familiarization with riding preparation and a calm environment.
Okay, so when you know your trail and you're going down, not know it, but you're going down the trail, and you've got a general idea. A lot of us keep on our phones different mapping things, so we get an idea of how many miles we've gone each day and things like this. As you're riding, you want to keep yourself straight. You want straightness in your mule. You don't want them looking off to the right. You don't want them looking off the left. You don't want them looking straight ahead. You want to dictate to them, just like you do on your car. You are going to be straight. That way it keeps them from eating on the trail. It keeps them from looking for monsters out there. So on your trail, if you want a nice, quiet ride, it's up to you to keep them straight.
Awesome. Let's see here. And then calm environment.
Okay, so it's really tough when you first pull in to a campground and all these people are around. You come into a show or you come into a campground for camping, all that's going on, really serious. The animal is really going to be looking around. Hey, 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 put the come along on right away. Immediately take control of that mule's mind so that he's not getting himself all frustrated Oh, I want to be with that horse, or I want to be with that donkey, or whatever. Okay, it's up to you to use the come along to get them quiet. Now, once they're in the corral, you got the come along on them. You get a brush out, and you go to brushing them. Not tied to a trailer, folks. Okay, that puts a lot of frustration into them. I want to go. I want to get loose away from this trailer. I've had enough. No, put them in a corral. Take the come along hitch. Maybe have them go around in a circle or two, the right or left. Get them to get quiet. Get your brush, and start brushing them. Getting them to relax. If they look off to the right, bump them straight, just like you do on the trail. If they get to looking at these other animals, bump them straight. Keep their mind on you. You create the calmness. You create a good, quiet environment. You are the herd leader, and it's up to you to do that. Put them in the corral. Relax. Take it easy. Brush them. It's a good day for a brush. You get a windy day where they're looking for monsters. It's a good day to be in the corral with a come along hitch and a brush.
All right, now let's turn the corner and let's wrap it up with packing and loading. We're talking weight distribution and gradual increase in total load.
Okay, so here's the deal. When you think about your trailer, it's set up, and you put all your mules in one way, all the weight is on the left-hand side of the trailer. So you especially want to keep an eye on the tires on that left-hand side of the trailer. All your weight is over there. Now, these new trailers, it's not as important as it used to be with leaf spring trailers. These new trailers have torsion bars, and they're a lot nicer to ride. But what I do personally, when I'm going a long distance, I'm talking, 6, 8, or even 10 hours, I'll put one in forward. I'll turn the other one around backwards. So I've got my weight evenly distributed on the trailer. Now, if I'm going just a short ways, we got to go work some cattle off 5 or 6 miles over here. It's just going to be a short time. We jump them in the trailer. We tie the bridles to the saddle. We turn them loose, and they're in the trailer. They all turn around, and they always like to look out the back. They do. Mules love that. So that's one thing we do on short runs. I personally don't like to tie my animals. I personally use a rope halter. I do not use a nylon halter. A nylon halter causes lots of problems, lots of bracing, and animals can really get hurt, especially with those metal parts that are in the halter that can get onto the cheeks of a mule because of the difference in his head. So there you are, Dave.
That's great. That's
Good
great.
job. We appreciate y'all coming, and away we go.
Be sure, tell all your friends. Join us every single week. You can go to muleranch.com. You can find all the products that Steve was talking about there, the leather products and the beta products. You can learn more there. And yes, if you have any questions, we want to help you. Support at muleranch.com. We'll get you everything that you need so that you have a great experience. Thanks for joining us. God bless everyone, and we will see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Happy trails.